All right, so now we can just go ahead and go into another area of discussion. We can go into the Northern Kingdom, all right? Because we have situations now where you got certain men that are teaching that the Northern Kingdom is not the Northern Kingdom over here in the Americas, okay? Now we do understand that the Most High was going to scatter us throughout all four corners of the earth. That was actually prophesied, okay? Get me real quick, 1 Kings 8, and started about 42. Yeah, go to 1 Kings 8. We go into the prayer of Solomon. Okay.
Top?
No, 42 also. Yeah, start at 46.
This is 1 Kings 8, chapter 8, verse 46. If they sin against thee, for there is no man that sinneth not, and thou be angry with them, and deliver them to the enemy, so that they carry them away captives unto the land of the enemy, far or near. Yet if they shall bethink themselves in the land, whether they were carried captives, and repent, and make supplication unto thee in the land of them that carried them captives, saying, we have sinned, and have done perversely, we have committed wickedness, and so return unto thee with all their heart, and with all their soul, in the land of their enemies, which led them away captive, and pray unto thee toward their land, which thou gavest unto their fathers, the city which thou hast chosen, and the house which I have built for thy name.
Yeah.
Then hear thou thy prayer and their supplication in heaven, dwelling place, in heaven thy dwelling place, and maintain their cause.
Yeah. And does this say cast them into another land? Where was it at?
Let's say carry.
Yeah, carry them away captive. Which when you go into the history of Israel, into another land, the enemy. Yeah. When you go into Israel, into the history of Israel, we were actually, because if we did not keep the commandments, that we were actually going to be taken captive by other nations. Most High also said that in the curses that we would actually be scattered as well. Go to Deuteronomy 28. It's about, I want to say it's about 48 hours. Yeah. So let's go into some of the curses. Let's just go into some of the curses. Go to verse, start at verse 15.
28:15.
Yeah, because we're going to break down the tribes later.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh, thy power, to observe to do all the commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So all these curses shall come upon us and overtake us. So that's part of what was going to happen to us. Now, when you go into the different tribes had different judgments. In fact, when you go into the history of the scriptures, you know that the Northern Kingdom, the bulk of them was taken into the Assyrian captivity. And then you knew that Judah, the Southern Kingdom, and whoever was with them at the time, they went into the Babylonian captivity. Now, when you had different time frames of what occurred during those times, because of the fact that when the Assyrian captivity ended, that they were actually going to have to, they wanted to decide whether or not they were going to stay. They had a council, okay? Now, we know that even in the scriptures that there are some of the Northern Kingdom that did stay behind, that did not go, but there was still a bulk of them that left, okay? So go ahead and go to second Ezra 13. Yeah, 13. About 45 highlighted. Yeah, 40.
Second Ezra chapter 13, verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land into the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanasseh the king of Assyria led away captive, And he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land.
So they came to in another land. Okay? Because there's actually a part of, I want to say it's in the book of Kings.
Deuteronomy 29.
Yeah, it carried it when you get cast away into another land. So I'll get that real quick.
I got it right here. Deuteronomy 29 and 28.
Is it another land?
Yeah.
Go ahead and get that real quick.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 29 and verse 28.
That's it.
And the Most High rooted them out of their land in anger and in wrath and in a great indignation, and cast them into another land.
And cast them into another land. Now, when you go into that word for another land in the Hebrew, can you get that in the Hebrew? And it was Deuteronomy 29 and 28.
Awesome, right.
Awesome, yeah. Because we're gonna go back into and while you're getting that, go back to second entrance and while the brother brings that out. Okay.
All right. Verse 41. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt.
Where never mankind dwelt. Now, what has happened now is you actually got men that are teaching that the northern kingdom went into Europe and Asia Minor. Which, when you go into Genesis chapter 10, we don't have a map, but if you go into the different fathers or the different forefathers of these different nations in the Genesis chapter 10, you could actually see where they actually settled, because they actually even give you a map of it. They actually give you like a map within Genesis chapter 10 of their borders of Japheth, the borders of the different sons of Ham, and the borders of the different sons of Shem. Okay? When you go into that, you got people that are saying that nobody lived in those lands. But that's where the Most High put those different nations in those different lands. So you had people that was already living in Asia Minor.
Right.
You already had people that was living in Europe. The Etruscans, which are the sons of Japheth. Okay? So they're saying, what you have is you got people that are saying that the northern kingdom settled over there and they did not come to the Americas. So let's go ahead and keep going in that second entrance, huh?
Verse 42. That they might keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river.
Yeah, so they entered into the river of Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river. So why would they go into the Euphrates? Because the Euphrates has to go out into the Gulf.
That's right.
Right?
Right.
So keep going.
For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood.
Why would he show signs of them going on the river Euphrates, trying to go into a land that they already knew about? Why would they be going over towards Mount Ararat, or modern day Turkey, right? Why would they need signs? Like they don't know where they're at. They've been in the Assyrian captivity that whole time. The Assyrian Empire had the river Euphrates and the river and the Tigris River, which is in modern day Iraq. Okay, the northern part of the modern day Iraq is where the Assyrian Empire started. They knew that land. We all knew that land. The whole world knew that land. Those are known lands where people already dwelt in.
Right.
Right? So keep going.
For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood, till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go.
Yeah, see, because what happens is now people are saying, well, look, they didn't say anything about the ships. They didn't say, well, they tell you that certain men went to certain places. They didn't tell you that they went on a chariot.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So just because you hear about a certain prophet or whatever going from one city to another, you don't know if he took a chariot or he walked by foot, but that don't mean he didn't take a chariot.
That's right.
He didn't get on a horse or something.
That's right.
That's right.
Sometimes you gotta just, there's certain things that you just gotta have common sense in your mind to know what happened. It don't take a year and a half to get from Iraq all the way to Turkey.
Right.
It's not gonna take you a year and a half. That's plain. So go ahead, up.
For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half.
Yep.
And the same region is called Aseroth.
The same region is called Aseroth. So go ahead and bring.
So for that Deuteronomy 29 and 28,
yeah, for another land.
the another land is Arats.
Yeah.
Arats.
Which is basically this is the English transliteration or translation of that same word for another land.
That's right.
Yep, that's right.
Where no other mankind dwelt.
Arats. That's right.
Yeah. You know, so that's plain in the scriptures when you match it up precept upon precept. Now, when you go into the account of Solomon in the Book of Kings, you know the scripture chapter, King 7, I mean First Kings. You got to highlight it. Yeah, say First Kings. Yeah, I believe it's 7 and 11.
Yeah.
You got it?
Kings 10 and 22.
10 and 22.
First Kings chapter 10, verse 22. For the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish with the navy of Hiram.
Yeah, he had a navy of Tarshish with the navy of Haran. When you go early on, it tells you that he made a league with Hiram. He made a league of basically a business partnership, so to speak, of trade, where he used basically Hiram and his service expertise of building ships to actually go and travel. When you go into Tarshish, Tarshish is actually in modern day Spain. It's actually the southern tip of Spain. Okay, so he had a navy over there, and he also had a navy in I think it's like right south of the land of Edom in the Gulf. So actually, Solomon had two navies, but this navy right here actually went to another place. So go ahead and go into it.
Once in 3 years came the navy of Taharsh, bringing gold and silver, ivory and apes and peacocks.
Yeah. So every year and a half. So a year and a half to go, a year and a half coming back, which is the same year and a half travel that they took in order to get to the Americas. Okay?
That's right.
Now, if you know anything about the other ship, which we'll probably do that another time in the lesson. Solomon also had a navy that was, I believe it's Elion Gizar, which is actually south of the land of Edom, which is in the Gulf, and that ship also went and took goods too. And it would take goods, and it would also go around, and eventually those goods would be traded, or basically put on different ships as they were being picked up. So when you go into this, it's plain and simple when you line up precept upon precept that a bulk of the Northern Kingdom did actually come over here. Right. And how do you know that? By some of the laws that they kept and the prophecies that fit them.
Right.
Okay? Which we don't got the different books, but for you brothers and sisters to want to know, you can look up Lost Tribes in Promised Land by Ronald Sanders. Okay, is one of the main books, which I believe now is, I don't know how much it is on Amazon, but it chronicles how when they came over here, they realized that these people were of the children of Israel by their customs that they kept. Yep. For example, we just went into the feast of the Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. If you know anything about the Americas, a lot of the tribes from the Americas, they actually bake unleavened bread.
Yep.
Right. When you go into the garments of the different tribes of the Northern Kingdom, a lot of their traditional garments have fringes. In fact, we wear garments and fringes, but we actually can go to Issachar and go get a garment that's just like this, with fringes on it. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
I've seen brothers actually just go to Issachar and just buy a garment just like that, and they already have fringes on it. So where did that come from?